Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking all about planning our 2026 travel. If you guys are anything like me and you love to travel, obviously in this video we're going to map out how we do travel plans from the best places to go to new places to go, and being realistic about what this means for either short-term travel, meaning one trip, small trips, 1 week, 2 weeks, all the way up to long-term, longer travel. And I just want to share with you guys to start off with, how am I choosing destinations for 2026? Well, if you guys have been watching the channel, you know how much I love off-season travel. So I'm going to start off by telling you guys all of my travel for 2026 will be in the off season. So that means I am not traveling in June, July, August at all. Who knows, maybe a domestic weekend trip here or there. However, no international travel during that time. And the reason that I do that is because budgeting is realistically so much easier, whether it's short term or long term travel, when we use off season traveling. So I just want to start off by saying that. Now, secondly, I want to also let you guys know that slower travel, fewer trips, and more local experiences is where my focus personally is going to be for 2026. So, what does that mean? Slower travel, fewer trips, better experiences? What I mean by this is slower travel. Now, I have a cruise booked right now for Japan and Korea for May of 2026. This is a special trip because, for those of you who know me, I used to live in South Korea, specifically in Daegu. I've been to Japan many times, but my husband has not. So, for our 7-year anniversary of being together, we decided that we were going to take the leap and go to South Korea and Japan, and I could show him all of my old stomping grounds. So, what do I mean now? Circling back to slower travel. Well, we already have this 12-day cruise booked, right? Of course, we got a great deal on it because we booked it a year and a half in advance. I would definitely recommend booking cruises, specifically specialty ones like Southeast Asia, Japan, Korea, Hong Kong, Singapore, New Zealand, during sale periods. So, sale periods for cruise lines are usually anytime there's a major holiday, like Christmas, New Year's is coming up very soon. We definitely want to keep an eye on that, but more so because when the prices drop and you can lock that in with a deposit, call your travel agent and I can make sure that you guys are ready to go and getting the best price for your initial cruise. Now, when we're going to travel slower, that means maybe we're going to add some days on both sides. For example, on this trip, it starts in Tokyo, ends in Seoul, South Korea. So we're going to add a couple days on land on the front side so that he can see Tokyo. And same thing on the back end for Seoul. And what this means is we're paying for one plane ticket, right? Round trip, but we're seeing a lot more places doing it this way, and we're spending a lot more time in destination. And I know that not everyone can do this, but if you are someone with a job that can do this, for example, a remote job, for example, someone that gets summers off, like a teacher, or someone who just has a ton of PTO all saved up because you haven't traveled for a while, and maybe you can take that month off, this is a really great way to also save money and also to see more of a country and to have a better overall experience. It's definitely been when I've taken shorter trips, I feel like, where I'm more exposed to the elements as far as like weather changes, people being sick. When I've traveled longer, I feel like it's easier to get into a new routine when traveling. And for anyone who travels, you know how important that is. So, moving on top of that, fewer trips, meaning, for example, if I'm going in mid-May to Korea and Japan, that I'm staying there for 3-ish weeks, and maybe I'm only taking 2 trips, big trips like this for 2026, for example. I also have a big birthday coming up in September of 2026. So, TBD on those travel plans. I don't want to give any hints out yet. I do have some amazing ideas. And as soon as that one is ready to go, I'm going to show you guys my travel plans for that as well. Now, what are we talking about when we talk about having a better and more authentic experience when we travel? Well, of course, I'm talking about getting in there with the locals, having less tourists around to be bothersome, and spending time in the local culture doing the things that you want to do when you're there. So, for example, in Japan, it's very cool to do the tourist things, like ride the Mario go-kart, like go to a sumo show. But what are the locals doing? Well, I can tell you right now, they're heading to Book Off. If you've ever been to Japan, this is an excellent secondhand shop with things as low as 200 yen, which in equivalent is $2 US, probably even less now because of the exchange rate. But what I will say is that it's a great place to find all kinds of things. Not only do they have the normal clothes, shoes, books, but you can also find some that have like electronics. I've seen an iPod there that I had maybe, I don't know, 18 years ago or so on sale for like 30 or 40 bucks. I mean, such a cool place just to look at stuff. I mean, they have cameras, they have instruments. I mean, anything you can imagine and really excellent prices. So, also for better experiences, I would say going to restaurants that locals go to that are not really catered towards, in this case, I'll say specifically Americans, like hamburger restaurants that you find, for example, in Tokyo or in South Korea, and especially in Seoul. These are going to be definitely leaning towards Americans. You'll see locals eating there, maybe if they're younger, especially, or they're westernized, or they have Western friends. But I would say it's usually not the traditional food. So this is not where you're going to get a deal, and it's not where you're going to have an authentic experience. In Tokyo, they have these amazing vending machines. So you can get all kinds of things at these vending machines, anything from snacks to drinks to coffee to you name it. All you have to do is just walk around and find these places. Also, the small little like booths looking things like what we would picture us as Americans watching, or going to like a fair, like a state fair, like a flea market. They have this setup also in many cities in Japan I saw when I was there, and they have local food right in there. So if you love seafood, this is a great opportunity to get some fresh seafood with a Japanese twist. If you're really into curry, especially spicy stuff, there's smaller restaurants where you can get some delicious, delicious, hot, spicy, like for example, chicken curry, where they actually have the whole chicken on the bone, like sitting in the soup, almost like a homemade spicy, chicken noodle soup broth mix, which is awesome. I know I'm focusing heavily on Japan and Korea for the moment, but that is because this is going to be obviously my main focus for the first half of 2026, being a smaller and larger trip. Now, next thing we're going to talk about is, of course, how do we budget for this? So let's talk about cost. First of all, the cruise itself cost about $1,700 per person, and this is on the Celebrity ship. So if you know anything about cruising, I love cruising. Not a huge fan of open sea cruising, which is what this is going to be, especially if you're anything like me and you get seasick. Not ideal. But there are medications for it now. They have the little patches, they have the C bands, they have the pills, tablets you could take. You could also chew on ginger, which I found is a really great natural way, or pop those ginger supplements to, kind of calm the body, calm the stomach if the seas are rough. But, anyways, it's still a great way to see Korea and Japan because, as many of you know, these are islands and they're expensive. So, this is a really great way to keep our costs down. But if you guys are looking to book a trip similar to the one I did, I'm going to put some of my costs right over here so that you can see how much the cruise costs, how much our Airbnbs on both sides cost, how much is the air going to cost, and when is the best time to book these things. So, going to the air, this is how much the air is going for right now. And right now it's December 2025. Okay. If I'm looking to go in May of 2026 and I look at the general trajectory for the air, the best time for me to actually book this air is 3 to 4 months out. If I were to book this trip right now for April instead of May, then the same flight is this much. Can you believe that? That's a huge savings. So we definitely need to pay attention to this when you guys are looking at slow travel, especially if it's flexible. I mean, this is your best friend during this time. And I know some of you cannot travel in the off season, especially if you're teachers. I do have a friend that's a teacher. Shout out to Haley if she's watching. However, we'll have to do a separate video on that and how we can get you guys to also be traveling cheap. last but not least, I do want to touch on a couple things. I know people watch my videos and they think, oh my God, you're always traveling. Even a lot of my family and friends say the same thing. I'm always traveling. How do you save money, Jen? How are you able to travel like this? Well, if you guys use my tips and tricks about how and when to book, especially airfare, especially sales on cruises, or, going with friends, bringing down costs, finding other ways to do things, being more flexible with our dates, going in the off season. There's tons of ways to save money. I mean, honestly, the options are endless. You could also get a credit card, and then this could really cut down on how much your air costs. So that's a great option as well. But ultimately, if your goal is to travel as much as possible, then I definitely suggest buying one ticket one way and then seeing as much as possible and then flying back one way and doing more traveling like at one time and cutting down how many international trips you're actually taking. So, for example, if you want to go to Ireland, UK, France and Holland in one trip, then do all that in one trip. Once you're over there, flights are so much cheaper and you can fly easily between them, or you can train between a lot of these places, which is, still going to cost money, but not as much as an international flight from the US to Europe. So instead of breaking that into four separate trips, I would combine that into one trip. Okay. And that's how I would save you guys some money. And for those of you who have been following the channel for a little while and know that we just recently got a house, I do want you guys to know that it's not off the table for you or anyone else to travel, have a house, have a partner or marriage or pets or a kid or anything. Okay. I want you guys to know everything is on the table. You just need to prioritize what is most important right now. And since we're a travel focused channel, obviously, travel and wellness are going to be the number one focus, but I just want you guys to know that anything is possible. See you next time. Hey guys, as always, thanks so much for watching, liking, and subscribing. And if you guys have any questions or got some value from this video, please go ahead and leave a comment, DM me, or feel free to email me at my business email in the description box below so we can work together. See you next Friday.